Right. It seems as if attendees are rolling in. So we'll make sure to get into today's session. The session, of course, is going to be recorded as well and distributed following today's session as well. We also do have some polls, as I've mentioned in the chat. So feel free to keep your voting fingers ready. It's great to be able to have insights from the guests that are in attendance today. And we also will have a Q&A session towards the last 5 to 10 minutes of today's session. So what you can be able to do at any point in time when you have a question that comes up, just ask it in the public chat, and we will mark those particular items as questions and return back to them towards the end of the session as well. So feel free to drop them if you have them as well. We will also be having some handouts of today's slides, so don't worry, you don't need to take pictures or screenshots. These slides will be distributed to all in attendance as well to be able to make sure if you want to share those with any of your teams or alike. As you might see, I'm calling in from my home office, aka my dining room table. With that being said, I also am joined by my co-host, who often is opinionated during our webinars. I haven't yet gotten my mail at home here, and I can assume that it's going to be very nicely timed so that Charlie will give his opinion during today's content. We'll hope that he can be able to be less opinionated today than he has been during other webinars, but he'll be joining me in the background as well. Let's get into the day's agenda for today's session. We're going to first and foremost dive a little bit into the value journey of SRM, making sure that everybody has an understanding and alignment within this particular session of what we mean when we're talking about supplier relationship management. We're also then going to get into the importance of building the business case for SRM before we then get into kind of the meat and potatoes for today's session, which is, of course, the 9 ROIs of adopting an SRM platform. We're then going to finish off with a Q&A. We are not in any way, shape, or form going to be demoing the platform today. We will at the end have the opportunity for those that in attendance that would like to be able to schedule a separate demonstration of the Kodiak platform to be able to book some time with one of our SRM experts. But we are not going to be doing a live demo. So apologies if that is the case. But of course, you could be able to feel free to get in touch with our team. We will, of course, be speaking to the platform and showing some elements of the platform, of course, and how that pertains to being able to deliver ROI to our customers that are adopting our solution in the various ways that they're doing so today. For those of you that are in attendance that do not know about Kodiak, just briefly about us, Kodiak Hub is a modular suite. It is a platform within the supplier management space. We are an end-to-end platform providing solutions for our customers to be able to manage supplier risk, compliance, ESG, and performance, giving them a single source of truth for their supplier information, data, and documentation. We also then have a collaboration space and, of course, reporting capabilities within the platform, as well as a lot of capabilities related to process orchestration. We'll talk a little bit more about our platform today, but again, if you're interested in learning more about our solution, we'll then be launching a link later in the session that you can be able to feel free to book some time with one of our SRM experts as well. Let's get into the day's session as well. As we all know, 2025 has brought a lot of new challenges that are reshaping the space of procurement. It's really a role that is, I would say, in continuous change. And in the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen the traditional role of procurement changing, but it's not really going anywhere, right? We recognize that there is new pillars that are expectations on you and your team, which means, of course, that there's a lot more to be doing with less. But just like sales is focused on, revenue growth, procurement is always going to have its foothold, of course, in cost reductions and savings. We don't see this traditional role changing in any way, shape, or form. This means, of course, doing more with less is going to challenge businesses to have to take a journey, right? Procurement is necessary in businesses today. It's a strategic function in businesses today. The procurement organizations of today cannot get bogged down in administrative tasks focused on, savings or compliance or risk management. It's important that businesses are able to transition and focus on top line growth. The strategic importance of the procurement role is far too great within organizations globally today. As well put, I think, from this quote from a head of procurement at a telecom company, procurement's role is now geopolitical. It's economic. It's crucial to revenue growth, and it's on the C-suite's agenda. I think that we've seen this during the last few years. This whole talk about getting a seat at the table, nobody's talking about it anymore. Procurement went and built its own table, and everybody's sitting down at it with us now, right? Now it's time that we make use of that, of course. Kodiak believes that, of course, leveraging one of your greatest assets, the value of your supplier base, is really, really important, right? It's one of your greatest tools, that your weapons to be able to use as a procurement professional. We believe that great SRM really truly can be the silver bullet to creating transparent and resilient supply chains, to bring better products and services to market, and also to create saving opportunities. Great SRM can lead to great collaboration with your suppliers and impact in your supply chain on your business's revenue. However, there are a lot of things to get right from an operational and a tactical perspective before we can really reach and reap the benefits of this kind of strategic pinnacle, which is supplier management. And this is why I think that SRM needs to be underpinned by really great process, supported by good technology, and of course, managed by excellent people as well. The fact is, our founder, Malin Schmidt, has been saying this for a long time. And this, is a company that was founded by somebody that once upon a time needed supplier management solutions. I mean, she was also just tired of seeing people like myself running around in sales and marketing with our glossy CRM solutions, wondering why in the heck would I be managing my suppliers in Excel spreadsheets and ERP and homegrown solutions, piecemealing solutions to be able to make, the value of my supplier base something significant. I mean, the fact is, in my day-to-day role as a sales professional, without my CRM, I do not stay on top of my prospecting. I do not create pipeline or make sales. Without proper SRM solutions, how could one ever expect a procurement team to really reach a strategic pinnacle, to really ever be expected to create truly resilient supply chains, increase supplier performance, and or create savings, right? Put that on a bumper sticker, and of course, take that to your management team, because I think that this is the type of value that you need to make sure that you're selling in. SRM is equally as crucial to procurement as CRM is to sales. As seen by this stat that's on screen here from the WNS CPO survey, 41% of those that were surveyed here said that SRM remains one of their top challenges that they currently face. At the same exact time, this statistic from Gartner shows us that teams do not really get all of the technology that they want. In fact, procurement organizations on average get only 17% of the technology that they ask for. It's a pretty crappy statistic. It's a true statistic, though, in many businesses. The thing that I'm interested in our first poll for the day, and we're going to have a few more polls coming up here, is how many solutions in particular does your business plan on bringing in 2025? Do you mind getting your voting fingers out and giving a vote right now? How many new solutions will your business bring in during this new year? The vast majority already that have answered, 35% of the audience has answered. If you guys don't mind going in and voting, I know that you might be answering emails in the background. My feelings are not hurt. With that being said, it'd be great if you can answer this poll. Okay. So the vast majority of people in attendance are bringing in one or two solutions or less than one solution. And I think this is pretty typical. It's not in any way something that's strange. And I think reflects pretty strongly the Gartner statistic as well, right? This means, of course, that you need to make the right choice. But if you, of course, want to expand upon those one or two or less than one solutions that you're bringing in to the business, you need to make sure that you're building a strong case for it. So that's, of course, what we're going to try and help you guys, give you some ammunition today to make sure that if you do not have the budget currently for new tooling within SRM, or for example, with just in your procure tech stack, that we give you some arguments to be able to, really enforce that CapEx, that expenditure on top of whatever it is that you've also already budgeted. We see that there is kind of an Excel exodus happening at the moment, if one might call it that. The trends are showing that people are scrapping homegrown solutions and adopting modern third-party solutions. So if you're not doing that, then you are going to potentially start falling behind the competition. This isn't me saying that as a solution vendor. It's really just a fact. PwC Digital Procurement Survey from 2024 found that that by 2027, the targeted digitalization rate across S2P processes is 70%, and on average, businesses are going to plan to invest anywhere from 1.2 million and upwards euro per annum to digitalize in their procure tech stack. This is, of course, taken from 100 million euro businesses plus. With that being said, many of those that are in attendance are in that particular range as far as a business size goes as well. So I'm actually interested in hearing from everybody, how much does your business plan on spending on your procure tech stack? We now know that most people in attendance, 77% of people in attendance are in fact only going to be bringing in one or two solutions. If you don't mind answering the poll that we now have on screen, how much does your business plan to invest in your procure tech stack in this upcoming year? Interested to hear from those that are in attendance here. How much does your business plan? And this is not just, for example, in one narrow space. This is your full procure tech stack. How much is your business really valuing digitalization in the organization? Take a moment to be able to answer right now on the poll. All right, the answers are rolling in. It seems as if the vast majority of people are actually looking to invest quite a bit less than the annual average from this PwC study. The 76% of those in attendance today that have answered are looking to actually invest less than 500K in technology. So obviously about half of the average investment. I think that it's important that you take into consideration some of these averages when you're going to, build your business cases and, looking to the left, looking to the right at what other businesses are doing. Your competition, of course, is doing as well as things to be able to benchmark yourselves against. Let's move on. One of the things that I think is a little bit worrying, of course, is that supplier management, right? It's not always so quote unquote easy to build the case. I mean, the fact is like this: you and your team are feeling the day-to-day pain, right? You are bogged down in your manual tasks, but the management team, they want to see gain, right? Worryingly, in a 2024 survey by State of Flux, it showed that about 1/4 of procurement teams don't have any case currently built for investment in supplier management. So I'm actually curious in hearing from those that are in attendance today, and I can almost guess what the answer is to this last poll that we have here of this particular section. Do you currently have a business case built? It's good to be able to take the temperature of the room of those that are here and see how much should we dig into building out the business case. So please answer the poll that's on screen here. Do you currently have a business case built to enhance your supplier relationship management with both systems and talent? The majority of people that are answering overwhelmingly do not have something built out. Well, good. Then hopefully we will be able to give you guys some good ammunition today of what you can be able to take forward. I think that this always poses a pretty interesting catch-22 within businesses, right? You can't get budget for new technology without showing the ROI, and you can't show the ROI on new technology without the budget to adopt. So hopefully we'll be able to help out those that are in attendance today. But the one thing that I want to make sure that we make very clear, we are a solution provider. We're providing tech services to the industry. When it's all said and done, though, we are just one piece of this puzzle. And I think that it's incredibly important that any business case you're building includes three main pillars: people, process, and technology. Right? Technology can ensure that your team is more data-driven. That's fantastic. It can ensure that your processes are more efficient, orchestrated, and automated, right? With this said, any good case relies on showing gains in all three of these areas. So without any further ado, for those 70% of people that are in attendance today that don't currently have a case built for supplier management, let's get into the 9 ROIs that we can be able to show. how you can be able to show real value to your business by applying a dedicated SRM system. Starting with ROI number one, starting with the basics, the foundations here to many good business case, operational savings, team efficiencies, and time savings as well. In 2025, all teams are going to have to do, again, more with less. And an SRM platform offers really great opportunities in various ways. Here's 5 on screen here to help your team not just work smarter, but work much faster. Taking from a particular case that we've actually run with a client of ours, HL Display, which is a business that we are working with today. We saw that they made massive headway with their time savings. This particular customer is a manufacturer and installation partner of in-store solutions such as lighting and shelving and more. They cut their due diligence and qualification process down with a half year in time savings for their team. When we speak about, ROI and value of supplier management, the foundation to that needs to be in the operational savings. If we look at the bottom left-hand corner of the slide that's on screen here today, right now, the on average that we can be able to see across our customers is 20 to 50%, but almost always above 30% on FTE time savings that is spent on supplier management tasks. It's important, of course, when it comes to your broader business case, however, that you break down your value that you're delivering back to the business in areas such as this. This is one model that we like to use, breaking down the value of SRM into operational, tactical, and strategic value. And we'll get back to all of these at a later point in time, but basically in principle, operational value focused on, of course, time savings and efficiencies within the team based upon automation of tasks and process orchestration. Tactical value, making sure that you have more control over your overall spend. And from a strategic value, making sure that you can prevent loss of brand and shareholder value, bring better products and services to market through closer collaboration, and gain your license to win. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that particularly means within the tactical and strategic elements of our value levers when we get into this session as well. Moving on to ROI number 2 that SRM delivers, supply chain resilience. 2024 was the biggest election year in human history. 3.7 billion voters went to the polls in 72 different countries as well. And amidst an already pretty strained, I would say, geopolitical climate, the U.S. election results have already and will continue to result in a flurry of executive orders that will continue to impact global trade. This is something that we should all keep our eyes on. I mean, tariffs are really just the tipping point of this. And I think the kind of sexy thing that's been in the news the most. There's going to be more orders, of course, that are going to impact our global trade. Some proactive measures that one can take to help prepare for trade disruptions are as seen on screen here. Supplier management will help with these things. Additionally, the concepts of nearshoring and friendshoring will continue to be crucial in 2025, making sure that we're buying, with countries and suppliers that we can trust. And of course, that's going to be important for continuity of supply amidst relatively uncertain times within global trade. Strong relationships with your suppliers will be incredibly important to lean on in 2025, and deeper insights into those kind of leading risk indicators will be equally important for you to be able to keep an eye on. To highlight some of the simple ways that Kodiak as an SRM technology supports within this, well, our solution provides, for example, country and contextual risk ratings. Here, we pull data from over 40 internationally recognized indices, things like the ILO, World Bank, Fitch ratings, and many others, to give our customers a really good understanding of the environmental, social, geopolitical, and financial risks in the context that they are sourcing or would like to be sourcing. It gives them a kind of a pointing direction of, hey, this is the context that you're working within. It might be interesting to dig into these risks with your supply chain. Additionally, more supplier-specific risks are also fed into our solution. We have, for example, financial stability with credit ratings, media monitoring, and also sanctions and PEP, which are incredibly important, fed into our supplier scorecards. These are giving more specific snapshots of risk related to a particular supplier. Our real end goal here is to feed our users with a snapshot. And this particular snapshot that we're giving them is a 360 of potential risk or existing risk, but also beyond that, how to be able to navigate that supplier relationship with those real risks in mind. Shown on screen here is just a screenshot of, for example, our scorecards, which is really the end state. It's the control tower of our individual suppliers in our platform, keeping procurement pros that are working with their suppliers in our platform on top of their supplier data, their documentation, the risk, ESG, compliance profiles, as well as performance, all in one place. And really, this is the basis to any greater supply chain resilience. It's greater transparency into supplier relationships. And SRM technology offers the ability for that transparency. But of course, it's how you use it that, of course, is the most important. Moving into ROI number 3, a lever that I think is very important to be able to pull in any type of a business case you're building, is streamlined supply chain compliance. Doing this smarter and doing it faster. And I know that compliance is not sexy, but I also know that this is the task that is taking a lot of manual time from your teams, making procurement, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, very administrative. Why? Is because, again, you are expected to not just keep up with transparency trends, but you're also experiencing this legislative tsunami. We've all been experiencing it during the last 24 to 36 months. But this legislative tsunami has been really washing over our companies, and it's really only just begun domestically and internationally. I mean, if you look at this screen, these are some of the more EU-specific areas, and or, for example, some things that are happening in the US. On top of this, there's so many different domestic trends. Switzerland has their own trends. Norway has their own trends. Canada has their own trends. And I think that these types of domestic, equally as well as international legislations, this is just the start. It's going to continue to grow as well, right? So it's things that, of course, are surmounting, and just yet another thing for procurement to have to keep their eyes on when qualifying suppliers in their supply chains. As per this Amazon report, the vast majorities of procurement professionals that were surveyed indicated that ensuring that their supplier base follows sustainable business practices is actually one of the greatest barriers for them to achieve their sustainability goals that they actually have for their procurement organization. And again, yes, sustainability goals for procurement, right? Again, having to do so much more with with the same amount of resources, it's not sustainable over time. Modern SRM technology, such as Kodiak, these are just some snapshots from our solution. Again, mentioned before, we're not going to get into a demo, but just talking about some of the features of our platform, and I'm sure other great SRM solutions that are out there. We can help to streamline onboarding, SAQ, and qualification, right? These processes can otherwise be incredibly manual, and that's not just me speaking, of course, because as a solution vendor, that's me speaking from the hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations that I've had with procurement professionals, and this is always a pain point, right? Procurement teams should not be focusing on administrative tasks. You should not be chasing down onboarding or assessment templates. You should be transitioning to a place where you're managing automated processes and you're being fed with the right insights so that you can be able to make sure that you're making decisions on which suppliers are of risk profiles and which suppliers are just fine. You know, our SSA, or self-assessment, capabilities, for example, ensure that supplier compliance is very streamlined, very automated, and it's all about capturing and consolidating not only responses on the self-assessments, but also the certificates and documentation, making sure that those are tanked down and reposited, marked with expiry dates, which triggers, of course, automated notifications. But also the data that you're capturing back is not just going to be dead data. It's going to be a part of a rating system. And this is very important for our solution and for our users, and a thing that I think shows a lot of intent to which suppliers are risk vendors, which suppliers are opportunistic or vendors, that we should be able to exploit opportunities with, because it's not just going to be data that's sitting in a data row somewhere. Data is going to be transformed into a rating based upon the KPIs that are most important to your risk or compliance profiles that you're trying to follow up on in your particular industry. As every industry, every business is very unique within this, but we also, of course, host a global library of best practices that are out of the box, keeping our customers ahead of some of these legislative aspects of the supply chain acts and others that businesses need to be able to stay on top of. Moving into ROI number 4. It's all about savings, baby. The money, right? Spend control, again, it's not going anywhere. This is one of the traditional roles of procurement, just in the same way that sales is there to make money. Procurement is always going to be there to be able to try and create savings opportunities. I think that there's some transitions in the way that procurement is going about making saving opportunities. And those are some of the things that I want to talk about today. But as we spoke about before, right, this traditional role being the catalyst for cost savings, it remains a pillar of the function. It is one of the things that you should be doing and absolutely obsessed with, just in the same way that anyone in sales is absolutely obsessed with trying to create revenue. And I think that the procurement function, though, however, is also transitioning in its way to being a role that is expected to create opportunities for revenue growth as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and how SRM can be able to help with those items. With this said, Arc Blue report pulled from 2024 found that the vast majority of teams, 89% of people that got back on this particular survey, they said that they do not have clear and accurate and accessible spend data to be able to grab insights. In fact, only an underwhelming 11% had this level of insight in their business. And this might be true in your business as well. It's not easy to be able to get on top of spend data while more traditional spend analysis, right, is crucial to create savings. One thing that great supplier relationship management can also unlock is more collaborative cost-cutting initiatives, right? Not just, of course, seeing the PO lines and where you're spending most or spending less, or where you can be able to start spending more, but recognizing the volume of the total spend and revenue generated via your supplier relationships. It's important to partner with your suppliers to locate real opportunities for savings. And we believe that strong SRM can really lead to much more collaborative relationships and working closer with your suppliers. These are two examples that I wanted to pull forward, some cases that I think are a little bit more tangible for those that are in attendance today. Two examples, for example, one from the automotive industry that we've seen, where bulk purchasing and consolidated shipments has worked out for businesses there. For example, combining multiple orders into larger shipments to take advantage of volume discounts and logistics costs. So really finding, for example, suppliers that are located in a particular region, putting together then the deliveries that are associated with those suppliers, and then you reduce your per unit transport costs. One of the other elements is where IKEA, for example, has reduced packaging size for furniture by flat packing items, which is cutting down, for example, on the logistics costs when they're packaging their freight within the transport costs, of course. And again, something that they've been working with their suppliers on, creating, for example, that packaging material to make sure that it's eco-friendly, but it's also, of course, lighter weight alternatives as well. Two just interesting and really, I would say, collaborative cost-cutting initiatives that these businesses have worked on to be able to drive forward, their supplier relationships, but also to drive forward the savings that they can create for the business. On to number 5, the ROI is definitely posed when it comes to the opportunity of supplier performance and driving your supplier performance. Being able to ensure that you can bring higher quality products to market faster and at the right quality and the right cost, that's what supplier performance is all about. As the age-old saying goes, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it, right? And supplier performance is absolutely no different. It's important that you have the right processes, the right people, and the right technology in place to be able to measure your supplier outcomes. We were supposed to have a very nice GIF here. Sorry, the GIF is not here, but you are able to see on the left-hand side, at least, what it is that we're trying to communicate. It's difficult to know where your suppliers are performing and where they need to really improve without a more robust set of inputs to understand overall performance. So Kodiak's solution leans on 3 main data points, both soft and also hard data, right? Quantitative and qualitative data, to build up really a 360-degree view. And this ensures that you can capture real output of your suppliers aligned with SLAs, but also to take into consideration the experience of your procurement, quality, logistics, project teams, right, that might be working together with a supplier and have a particular view on their performance. With the support of SRM technology, one of the levers that you can pull on here for the ROI is that we're helping, of course, our customers to be able to set KPIs and determine acceptance criteria for what good and bad looks like. We're also speeding up the capturing of that data as well. with SRM technology, you can not only save time on managing the process and capturing the hard and the soft data, but you're also ultimately like really being fed with digestible insights, right? Things that you can be able to see where a supplier is doing well or where they're doing poorly. This is going to vastly improve your QBRs that you're having with your suppliers, making sure also that you get a better control of total cost of ownership, and walking again into those negotiations or renegotiations with a lot more ammunition on your side. And this is incredibly important for all businesses to be able to say, hey, you haven't performed where we expected you to perform, aligned, for example, with the SLAs that we have in place. We need to be able to see some type of a concession in this upcoming quarter, right? This is the type of conversations you can have if you can measure it. In the 2024, also Kodiak published a white paper together with ProcureTech, which surveyed the top performing businesses that are out there and how they're driving supplier performance. It was a resounding theme that measuring and managing supplier performance really matters, right? It's something that enhances resilience in businesses and in your supply chain, and it also improves collaboration. There's no surprise there. Moving into ROI area number 6, closer collaboration and creating opportunities for innovation with your suppliers. A friendly reminder from us, the team at Kodiak Hub: suppliers are friends, not food. Negotiations can get heated. SLAs are missed. Payments can be late on your side, right? Shortages can be arising, but through it all, you have to find suppliers that want the same thing as you, right? Which is to grow and prosper. And your suppliers are still your business partners and an integral part of your revenue stream. This particular statistic from ISM, the Institute for Supply Management, suggests that in fact, the majority of innovation is sourced via suppliers. Market competitiveness that you have and your profits really rely on close supplier collaboration. So if there's anything you should be investing in, is your relationships with your suppliers and really creating more room for supplier-enabled innovation as well. Don't just take it from us. A 2024 Gartner study shows that supplier collaboration has skyrocketed as a priority for 88% of procurement leaders today. And I think that if you look to your left, look to your right, the vast majority of your peers and procurement leaders are going to be focusing on having this as a pillar of their strategy for growth in the coming years. When it comes down to it as well, our study from ProcureTech that we did together with ProcureTech showed that 56% of top performing procurement teams work proactively with collaborative problem solving within their supplier base. And if top performing businesses are focusing in on collaboration, you bet that it needs to be a pillar of your procurement strategy. And while technology, of course, can support this, it's back to the people in your organization and your business that will really be able to turn your suppliers into a competitive advantage as well. This is a transition that we're seeing, right? From transactional relationships to transformational relationships. And this is not going to be with every single one of your suppliers. We're not naive to that particular fact. But the item cannot be forgotten here that it's all about becoming the customer of choice. And when we talk about where technology plays a part here, you can support as a foundation for creating excellent experiences for your suppliers. And what's the importance of that? Well, you have one chance to make a good first impression, right? The effort and focus that you put into every single supplier touch point, from the second that you issue an RFI to the moment that you onboard and qualify those vendors, these are all opportunities to become the customer of choice. These are also the opportunities to be able to be seen as a legitimate professional business that cares about the supplier relationships that they are creating as well, right? You guys are in a position of being a professional buyer. It's a strong position to be in. You get to determine where you put global spend. You meet salespeople on a daily basis. Sometimes I think as procurement professionals, we forget the importance of selling our organization back to our suppliers. And I think that this is something that top performing procurement teams do when they turn those relationships into more transformational relationships rather than more transactional ones as well. It's also important that we focus on how SRM can improve internal collaboration equally to external collaboration. The application of better systems and processes for supplier relationship management will improve your internal collaboration drastically. And as we see from these statistics from a Zip survey, the majority of businesses have multi-stakeholder collaboration, which is necessary as a pillar to their supplier management processes, especially when it comes to supplier onboarding, approval, and qualification. And I think that this is where technology really becomes the joint between the bones, right? Or say maybe the oil between kind of the cogs in the wheel. I think that process orchestration, the availability with modern SRM technology ensures that your internal and external facing touch points with supplier lifecycle, are seamless and guided. And it keeps your teams focused on the right things and not bogged down in those manual tasks as well. Moving on to ROI point number 7, a lever that you can pull in the business cases that you're making, offered by SRM technology, smarter data-driven decisions. Our CEO says it all the time. Procurement is drowning in information, but is still starved for knowledge. And I believe that many in attendance here can probably recognize this. There is so much data and information out there, but being able to synthesize the most important insights and also to be able to ensure that data quality is of the highest rank is really difficult without SRM technology. And we believe that SRM can really drive as the motor within your broader system architecture to make sure that you're able to really capture the data points that are most important and drive strategic excellence in your procurement as well. The SRM, which is just giving you a snapshot of how Kodiak typically fits, for example, into architectures. The SRM can really serve as the connective tissue between internal solutions, third-party solutions, and also the data inputs from users, from suppliers, from stakeholders, and more, right? This is, again, just an overview of how Kodiak typically sits within our customers' ecosystems of tooling, but to ensure that our solution to really become the window externally towards suppliers. It becomes the control tower internally for users. And it also becomes kind of the window cleaner, right? The cleanser or organizer of data for your internal solutions, feeding back, data into the ERP or finance or S2P solutions that has been cleansed and also managed by suppliers themselves, taking away, again, that burden from you and your team. So again, great data-driven decisions, good data quality is driven by, for example, better SRM. Leading into ROI area number 8, it's all about creating a competitive advantage, a competitive market advantage, and using your suppliers as a competitive advantage as well. As we see from this WNS CPO survey that we named earlier, it was found that nearly half of procurement leaders said that they are challenged by the lacking strategic planning that they have together with their suppliers. And whilst there is no silver bullet to this, right? First and foremost, you have to do it. A real focus, again, on the trifecta of improving people, processes, and technology is crucial, of course, to turn your supplier relationships into a competitive advantage. At a roundtable that we hosted in Procurement Summit in Germany last year, we asked a room full of 30 plus procurement leaders, what is proactive SRM to you? What does it mean? And they listed some of the following areas as seen on screen here. All elements that we as a provider of solutions for SRM can really agree with, right? But a resounding theme here, looking at those that are on screen, it's all about growth, not savings, right? Which brings me back to the value levers of Kodiak, but of SRM. Operationally, tactically, and strategic, there is value at every level. When building a business case for SRM, it's incredibly important not just to harp on the dollars and time saved. Again, your exec sponsors do not often care about the day-to-day pain. They care about the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the month-to-month, quarter-by-quarter, year-to-year gain. That's what they want to be able to see. The strategic value of SRM needs to be front and center in any business case that you're building. SRM enhances the reputational risk management and resilience in your supply chain. That safeguards your brand and shareholder value, making sure that none of your suppliers or your business doesn't wind up in the news. SRM, it powers collaboration and performance management of the supplier base, which helps you to bring more innovative, higher quality products and services to market faster and at the right cost. This is going to enhance, of course, top line growth. SRM is the foundation for sustainable procurement. This is what's going to give you the tools that you need to be able to create a competitive advantage as a sustainable business and having a sustainable supply chain. This is really crucial, right? Because being a sustainable business is a license to win business in 2025. And this, of course, is something that I think is forgotten all too often. Sustainable procurement isn't just about reporting. It is about results, because it is something that you can use as a lever to be able to win business as well. Getting into ROI number 9, the last ROI before we finish up with a Q&A session and also summarize a bit. This is where we're focused on sustainable impact. SRM can offer return on investment in the ability to create true sustainable impact in your supply chain. We already talked about it, right? It is your license to do business. And SRM really unlocks a new kind of return on investment, which is getting a return on your relationships. This is an interesting thing, right? There is no return on, there is a return on relationships, and it's not really always something that you can see as a line item in a spreadsheet, right? It's not going to be able to be quantified directly. But we assure you, if you're doing the right things in your supplier relationships over a sustained period of time, this will lead to value far beyond any type of financial gains that you can be able to deliver to your business. And I think that with this all said and done, the greatest return that modern SRM technology and processes and focusing your people on doing the right thing is, of course, that it impacts people at scale. To put things into perspective here, we're talking about the impact at scale when we're talking about supply chain management, right? To put things in perspective, every investment that you make in your supplier base is able to ripple beyond tier 1, and it has a resounding effect on their suppliers or sub-suppliers to yourself. It has a resounding effect on the workplaces that they're working and living within. And it also has a resounding effect on the communities that these businesses are located within, the families of those that are working within those organizations as well. So it's real impact that we're talking about that you truly can be able to create by, of course, managing your relationships in a smarter and more sustainable manner. So here we have them, the 9 ROIs of adopting SRM technology. Feel free to take a second and remember what we're talking about. Everything from operational time savings to creating competitive market advantage. There's value at an operational, tactical, and strategic level to be gained. And I think that it's an important way to be able to frame up any type of business case you're looking to make. Thank you all to those of you in attendance. I appreciate the time and the also engagement during the session. We're going to now transition over to a Q&A. Before we get into a Q&A, I would love to know if anybody would like to schedule a meeting with any of our SRM experts. You could be able to feel free and utilize the link that is now launched. Feel free to book a demo. This can be a no strings attached conversation with one of our experts. You can be able to discuss, of course, what are some of maybe the challenges or pains that you're currently experiencing. And also they can help you, of course, to be able to guide in building this business case internally and guiding you in that process as well of understanding where are the value levers for your particular business to sell this in and be able to adopt new and modern solutions to deliver a return on investment in your supply chain management. I'm going to take a moment to pause my camera and my audio, and we'll then look at the questions that we have in the chat bubble. If you have more questions, feel free to drop a question in at the moment. Some great questions I'm marking here. By the way, if you would like the handout of the slides, that is going to be shared now. So you can feel free to go ahead and grab those. Just press download and you should be able to download the slides. We're going to get into some of the questions that have been asked here. We're going to answer them live. So David asked, will you talk about adding value for additional management of suppliers when you haven't been able to effectively because you are already understaffed? And I think that this is a great point, right? It's back to the fact that there is an aspect, of course, of time management. You're expected to do more with less. And I think that's the only way around it is, of course, making sure that you build up a process and then automate that process as much as you possibly can. I think that there is also a real lever to be able to pull on here on understanding that if you are in fact understaffed, the investment needs to be in technology to ensure that you can be able to automate those manual tasks that are taking your time, helping you and your team to get more strategic. And ultimately that's going to be able to drive growth in the business, which is exactly what kind of your team is probably looking for to be able to get more resources. Question here about the product management teams close. Do you locate your product management teams close to customers to monitor ROI, or are they based all in one location? I'm not sure if I understand the question entirely. With that being said, our team looks to kind of determine how are we able to build ROI, because at the start of any of our relationships, we of course look at what are the strategic goals of this particular business. And then we follow up on those things on a quarterly basis. And we do annual reviews with our clients as well to try and make sure that we're tracking towards those particular goals and monitoring the ROI. We do so at a customer by customer basis, but also at a module by module basis on our platform as well. So we know that some of these returns have been able to materialize in those organizations. What are the biggest challenges that businesses face when trying to integrate as SRM platform? It's a great question, Safa. Thanks for asking it. I mean, the bottom line is change, right? Change is not easy for anybody. Typically, a lot of businesses are going through some type of a change that this is their first SRM solution, or they are currently working in homegrown solutions. I think that making sure that you have executive sponsors, that everybody is on board, that it is going to be a journey and a change. And of course, adopting the new way of working, that's always the biggest challenge. And then I think that there's an exterior challenge as well in making sure that your suppliers are on board. But again, if you're able to provide them with excellent experiences in the points of collaboration, whether it be onboarding or ongoing actions or communication to them within, really sleek and simple portals, they're going to start seeing the value within that as well. So those are the two biggest challenges that I think businesses see within their organizations. And it's really linked back, I would say, more so than anything to organizational change and change management than it is to the technology itself. The technology is just one piece of the puzzle. It's the people that are going to implement it and use it. That's the real challenge. Sean, I feel the investment numbers stated in the poll are on the high side, with the lowest option being under 500K, the highest scoring option in the poll. Do you have any analysis on average spend by companies per annum? Again, that particular PwC average figure was taken from businesses. The majority of them polled were in between 100 million to 5 billion. So it's not huge companies, but it's also not small companies that we're talking about that are on average spending 1.2 million. I think that this is just back to the simple fact that procurement teams only get 17% of the technology they're asking for. The businesses, though, that are better at selling in the case for technology in procurements, of course, are going to be able to get their split of the budget. I think that if you look at the sales and marketing stacks in businesses, the spend is probably double, if not 3 times that particular spend that you're seeing within procurement as well. So it's while it might seem high, it is the averages across businesses. Dan had a question here. I'm trying to mark this as a question. It's not allowing me to do so. Not really sure. It's freezing up here to try and allow me to mark this as a question. But Dan asked a very valid question here. Based on change being a barrier to SRM, which it is, of course. Can you quickly outline the level of customer support and training you guys offer? Absolutely. So our team is there to guide you. We associate 2 resources with any type of onboarding, a customer onboarding and enable manager, as well as then also a customer success manager. These 2 members are there and holding your hand alongst the 6, 12, or 18-week journey that you're going to take implementing our solution. We, of course, also have then a tech team that's focused on integrations into different types of internal solutions, third-party vendors that you're looking to bring into our scorecards or your ERP solution as well. And of course, they're guiding the process and the project there within a governance model and a project plan with milestones that are clearly defined on both sides of the business. And we, of course, make sure that we found ourselves also in some of those more, how would I say, decision maker profiles or a project owner on the customer side to ensure that we have steering committee that is going to be able to make more strategic or tactical business decisions. But, I think that is one of the elements that is very much reliant on the customer, right? Is where is the ambassadorship in the organization? We're going to do our part always in making sure that our customers get up and running on the platform very quickly. And Dan, I would suggest if you're interested, of course, in learning more about that, then feel free to click the button that's on screen now with the booking a demo, and you could be able to follow up. Maybe you're not at a phase right now to be able to do so, but I think that it's something we'd be open to discussing, of course, more. Saf asks here how to support supplier onboarding and offboarding. Yeah, our solution is very simple to use for the vendor. There's dynamic portals online they're able to access via their email. It is important that you communicate clearly to vendors. And we, of course, have some tips and tricks for our customers to be able to do so. And that's always part of our onboarding as well to ensure that the suppliers adopt. We have incredibly high response rates across our customers. And I think that it's because, for example, some of those tips and tricks that we provide, but also just the ease of use for the supplier themselves, rather than having to log into a crappy portal that they're not going to be able to respond in. The login doesn't work. We make sure that it's sleek, simple for that vendor. Again, giving them a window into the professionalism that they can expect in the relationship that they're going to have moving forward with your business as well. That's what we're talking about with giving them a good experience. If there's no other questions, then we will close off the day's session. And I appreciate everybody for the engagement. Fantastic questions as well. Again, if you're interested in learning more about us, feel free to be able to book a demo with one of our SRM experts. Otherwise, we are happy if you want to be able to check us out online. We have plenty of resources on YouTube, as well as then also on our website, www.kodiakhub.com. Thank you so much for today. Have a good rest of your day, and hope to see you soon.